Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here today to talk about England and specifically Wales. Uh, now, I was in Wales a few years ago. I loved it and an amazing time. And Wales is really hot now. And we're here with Will Cairns, who's the founder of Active England Tours. And Will has found that Wales is really popular these days, and he's going to talk about why. We'll also talk about his company and what it does. And you're going to hear about all that on Insider Travel Report. Will, great to see you. Thank you for coming on. You're over there in where are you based in?
I'm in the middle of the Cotswolds. Our headquarters is in the middle of the Cotswolds, so we're about an hour and a half from London, and an hour and a half from Wales. So we're
Fantastic.
right slap
I love
bang
the
in the middle of the
Cotswolds.
country.
I love the Cotswolds. It's an amazing place. We went to a wedding there once years ago
Oh, nice.
in Chipping Campden. So
Chipping Campden. So I am about 7, 8 miles from Chipping Campden as we speak.
fantastic. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your company, Active England
Sure.
Tours? What do you offer?
So we run a range of different active trips, mainly aimed at the North American audience. We specialize in anywhere in the UK, but most of our trips have an active element to it, be that walking, hiking, even some swimming, and a lot of cycling. Those are our core activities. But I think the main thing is that if you're traveling in the UK, there is so much history and heritage, there's so much culture. So we have our trips run with an active element, embracing all the history, heritage, and culture that you would expect in the UK. And the thing about the Cotswolds is the Cotswolds is a microcosm of England. It's England as it would be or would have been seen 100, 200 years ago. So all the buildings are 200 years old or more. It's as cute as you can get. And our American travelers, our American visitors, North American visitors, sorry, love the Cotswolds. It's easy to get to. And I think there's something like 5 or 6 million people come to the Cotswolds from North America and other places every year.
That's fantastic. And now beyond the Cotswolds, what does Active England offer in terms of other areas of the UK? You really do all of the UK?
Yeah, we do all of the UK. I think the important thing to notice is that most people from North America will come into London, and most people will come into probably London Heathrow, which is an hour and a half from the Cotswolds. Most people from North America will spend about 10 days. That's the average length of trip. And most people will go to London. So what tends to happen is people come into London, they'll stay in London for 2, 3 nights, and then they'll head maybe to the Cotswolds, maybe to somewhere else. The Cotswolds is the second most popular place after London. And then after that, it's the southwest. So it's Devon and Cornwall, or it's the north. So it's the Lake District, or Northumberland, where I believe you recently went,
That's correct.
and also up into Scotland.
Amazing. I love all those areas. And I've pretty much been everywhere, but I'd like to do more of everywhere. So that'll be great. Now, are these FIT group escorted trips or all of the above?
Yeah, so we run a range of FIT and group trips, and we're increasingly integrating self-guided trips. We found since COVID that many people want to travel on their own. And so we run a whole fleet of guided and self-guided walks and bikes throughout a range of different areas, but most of it is either FIT or group trips.
Fantastic. Now, what are some of the more popular destinations? You say the Cotswolds obviously is one.
Yeah, I mean, if
In
you
the
look if
UK,
if you
what do you
look at it,
offer? Yeah, for Americans, that is.
so the Cotswolds is number one. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage our North American guests to visit other areas. So we have specific programs for people who are first timers to the UK. We always ask, are you a first timer, second timer, or 10th timer? Because we will tailor different trips based on how many times people have been to the UK and where they've been before. So we don't want people to go to the same places all the time. So
That's
we try and encourage them to go to new places. And we spend a lot of time talking to our guests before they travel with us to understand what will make a truly magical trip for them.
Fantastic. Now, one of the things you told us before that we started this interview, that you're kind of focused on Wales these days because you say that is emerging as a top destination for luxury active travel. Why the interest in Wales now, as a destination?
I think Wales has hidden its light under a bushel for a while. I know the people that visit Wales are spending a lot of money in and investing in a lot of different areas of travel to get more people to come to Wales. There's lots of things that Wales has got in its favour. The first thing is its location. So it's really easy to get to. So I'm sitting here in the Cotswolds, and it's an hour and a half to Wales by
Right.
car from here. If you get a train out of London, you can be in Cardiff in 2 hours. So we see a lot of people traveling to Wales, be it North or South Wales, starting in London, going to Cardiff, maybe doing the Brecon Beacons, maybe doing the Pembrokeshire coast or up to Snowdon. And then from North Wales, it's really close to Liverpool. So we see lots of our travellers going to Liverpool to do all the Beatles
Sure.
activities that you can do in Liverpool, and then maybe heading north up to the Lake District in Scotland. So it's on your doorstep when you get to the UK. It's really close, and it's almost a microcosm of everything that the UK has to offer in a small, tight environment because it has amazing castles.
Absolutely.
It has some fantastic high mountains, especially in North Wales. It's also got the Brecon Beacons in South Wales. It's got some amazing coasts along Pembrokeshire, and it's got some real hidden gems that people just don't know about.
Right.
And yeah, so it's a lovely place to visit. We thoroughly recommend it. Our guests love it when they come here, and it's a microcosm of the UK in a very small, tight little package.
Well, and you also describe it as a kind of off the beaten track destination. And, obviously there's all this concern about over tourism. And
Yeah.
is Wales really attractive because it isn't yet over touristed compared to some other places?
Yes, I think that you need to pick your time. With anything, it's like pick your time to go. So weekends in some of the hillier areas can be busy. But what we try and make sure is that our guests are experiencing Wales when it's as quiet as possible. And that means probably during the week when most of the UK population are at work, and perhaps out of the 6 weeks in the summer when the schools are on holiday. So we try and make sure that we have as little or as fewer people on the mountains or on the coastal path as possible when our travelers are visiting.
No, absolutely. And of course, you talked earlier about some of the attractions, and I don't think people understand these major natural attractions in Wales, the parks, the mountains, the forests, that really attract guests, and also for your active travelers. Is this what makes Wales such a sort of sustainable destination? Is all these natural attractions?
The natural attractions I mean, we as UK citizens know Wales extremely well. As I said, it's just over the border. Um, there is some quite good name recognition for certain places, Snowdon, for example, the Brecon Beacons, and some of the villages on the Pembrokeshire Coast Path as examples. But there is so much more to see. There are
Yeah.
so many places up there. I mean, there's a very on the coast, on the sorry, on the I've forgotten my words, but on the border between England and Wales, there's the River Wye, and
Right.
on the River Wye, there's Hay on Wye. Hay on Wye has them. If you're a fan of books, it has the most iconic book festival almost in the world.
Yeah,
The Hay
I've been
Festival
there. It's amazing. It's a really
is just absolutely off the scale. It's on an absolutely beautiful river. And north of Hay on Wye is a place called Eden Valley. The Eden Valley is absolutely stunning. And there are so few people there. Literally nobody goes there. And it is absolutely stunning. It's literally just up the valley from Hay on Wye, and it's one of the most beautiful places in the whole of the UK. And there's nobody there.
no,
There's
well,
literally nobody there.
except those that you burn. You
Except some of the
stayed there.
people that we bring. No, exactly. Yeah.
Now, you also talked about the historic attractions. I mean, as you said, Wales, the castles in Wales are absolute. What are some of the castles that you highlight during
I
your?
think so. I mean, Carnarvon Castle probably comes to mind first. I mean, there are some iconic pictures back in 1969 of Prince Charles. He had his investiture as Prince of Wales in Carnarvon Castle, and he was sitting there looking very, very nervous. That brought a lot of prominence to that castle. My favorite castle is Harlech Castle.
right?
Harlech Castle is absolutely, it is absolutely superb. What else? I mean, there are so many. Pembroke Castle. I mean, there are lots. There are more castles in Wales per sort of square foot than any other region in the UK.
That
They are as grand, as beautiful as the castles in Scotland, but they just don't get as much airplay. And the stories between, how England and Wales were fighting over the last sort of 800, 900 years are very well told. The castles are well preserved.
mhm.
That's another thing. And as I've said a number of times, they're easy to get to. They're close to lots of other major conurbations. So you can have a great trip integrating some of the castles, integrating the mountains, integrating some active pursuits should you want to do that. There's great food. There's
Well,
good
we want to. I
hotels.
want to talk to you
Really
about
good.
the food. We're going to talk about that for a second,
Yeah.
but then you also got these marvelous small towns and even some small cities that are just charming,
Yeah.
that are just amazing that people forget. We get outside of London and then we go to certain things. Obviously, I've been in a lot of cities and I just told you I was in Newcastle this past year, and I've been to
Sure.
York, I've been to Liverpool, I've been to all the major post-industrial cities that are
Yeah.
now wonderful to visit, but. Wales has its cities too, and its towns.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the smallest city in the UK is a place called St David's. And St David's is in the west of Wales. It has a cathedral, but it's a village. It's
Mhm.
literally a village with a socking great big cathedral church in it. That is one of the most stunning villages, towns. Solva, Portmeirion, all on the coast
Well,
down in
Port Marion
Pembrokeshire.
is the famous one that we,
Yeah.
those of us, I believe that's where The Prisoner was filmed. Not too many people know that.
Gosh, I'm not sure, but I
Yeah,
know that.
that right there, that was a sort of charming village. Nobody remembers that movie, so we shouldn't talk about it because I do because it was a famous sort of spy thriller mystery that Patrick McGoohan made, and it's a charming village, and it got notoriety back then. But then I tell everybody this, and they don't know it, except a few people in Britain know this. There was another program called Secret Agent that he was in, and this was the posting. But it is the main idea here is this is a village that's such a picturesque village to see.
Yeah, it's kind of Italian inspired. It
Yeah,
looks like it should be in on an Italian lake. But some of the coastal villages are really, really charming. And they are very unspoiled. They don't get a lot of traffic.
no.
They don't get, I mean, traffic in terms of people. And they're easily connected. Lovely people, warm-hearted people, very friendly people in Wales, great singers in Wales. The
Yeah, we've
Welsh,
heard a few of those. Yeah.
the male voice choirs in Wales, if you get them on a Friday night in the pubs, they'll all start singing. It's something that's rare to see in these days in England, to be honest.
Yeah.
But in Wales, they love singing. So there's all that going on. Um, Great food, great pubs, just a lovely atmosphere. And you can find your own Wales. You don't have to go with a preconceived idea of what you're going to see and what you're going to do. Wales kind of finds you and it kind of draws you in.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Now, what about the accommodations that you offer as part of your programs? Where do
Yeah.
guests stay in
We
Wales?
I mean, we're relatively high end in terms of what we do. So there are a small number of really good hotels. We use Parley Hall in the north, which is wonderful. We use Penn Hall in the north as well. And we also use the very well regarded Grove in Narberth, which is part of the same group as the Penn Hotel.
Mhm.
Um, we tend to use those hotels. There are lots of also hotels in the bigger conurbations such as Cardiff and Swansea, etc. I mean,
Yes.
Cardiff is a fantastic city, a
Yeah.
fantastic capital. Again, it's very small. And if you're a fan of rugby, which to a lot of North American visitors looks completely barbaric, and it is pretty barbaric, but I describe it as it's American football without the shoulder pads.
That's true. Yeah.
So the Welsh are passionate about singing and they're passionate about rugby. And
Yeah.
when the rugby is on in Cardiff, it's an atmosphere like no other in the whole world. It is absolutely off the scale. You can feel the energy. You can feel the energy coming off all the people. Everybody's dressed in red. It's just a wonderful, wonderful day out if you can get tickets.
If you can get tickets, yeah. I've been to Cardiff. It's amazing. I've seen a little rugby in Wales, but not enough. And it is to be there during that period when people are playing. It's great. Now let's talk a little bit about what we mentioned earlier, the food.
Yeah.
What is the food? What's the level of the dining experience you offer?
I think if you talk about the UK in general, I remember back in the day, some friends of my parents would describe the British food as, completely awful, with no imagination and no thought going to what's on your plate. But the food in the UK has changed dramatically
Right.
over the last 30 years. We are now very proud of our food. If you look at other areas, so I was in the Lake District last week. The Lake District is a beautiful, similar to Wales in what it looks like, small area in the north of England. It's got 7 Michelin-starred restaurants in a sort of 20-mile radius,
That's
and
amazing.
all of them are in the cutest places you'd ever imagine. So you get the wonderful atmosphere and the wonderful food all thrown in. So Wales has distinct food, which is distinct to Wales. They have lava bread, Welsh cakes. There's a whole range of different things. Some of the lamb they have in Wales
Hmm.
is the lambs are fed on the salt marshes, so they live on the salt marshes.
Okay.
So the lamb has an amazing salty quality to it. That's something that the Welsh are very, very proud of. The seafood, obviously being by the sea, is comparable to the best seafood that you would get in Cornwall, which is a very foodie area
Yeah.
of the UK as well. So the food is very, very good. Our guests are always pleasantly surprised by the quality of the food and the passion with which it's delivered.
No, absolutely. I found that I grew up going to the UK very early. I was in, uh, you know, 4, 5, 6 years old when I first went to Scotland, Wales, and England. And back then the food was not something to write home about, as they said.
No, and you've kind
So,
of you almost played hunt the vegetable and stuff like that.
what
It
what
was
what
meat
what
and
vegetable? What vegetable? Green? No, no, we don't really do.
yeah, nothing green, meat and potatoes only. There was that, that was the reputation.
And it's
I
changed.
guess one of the other things to mention is the weather, actually.
Okay.
Obviously, the global warming is an awful thing. The weather is probably more unpredictable, but it rains a lot less in the UK than people think.
Yeah.
So, London, as an example, has less rain days in a year than New York.
That I believe.
Um,
That I believe. And I've always found people, you used to say you go to London or the UK and you have a beautiful day, you should appreciate it more. But now the beautiful days are really numerous. So it
yeah.
doesn't, it's not really a challenge that I've seen. I was just in
I mean, we
Edinburgh.
look,
Yeah,
yeah,
Edinburgh, and it was gorgeous. It was cold, a little cold, but not too bad.
yeah. We just like talking about the weather.
Well,
Every
that's the
A
same thing.
lot of
I
conversations
go
in the
I go to Seattle and whenever I go to Seattle, they tell me it's supposed to be raining. It's always beautiful and saying
yeah.
you're not telling me the truth. You just don't want people to come.
Well, we do want people to come. There's a lot to see, but the weather is not a factor, as some people might think.
Absolutely. Now, for your tour operations, what are some of the activities you offer? I think you're doing biking, hiking, bird watching, all kinds of things, right?
Yeah, so biking and hiking are the main and the most sustainable ways of getting around. To be
Right.
honest, we try and be sustainable in everything that we do, and so we will always make sure that the routes that we choose, whether they're biking or walking, are the most interesting routes.
Hmm.
So we will never turn up in a town or a city into a coach park.
Right.
So we will always find an interesting or different way to access the towns, the villages, the cities that we visit.
Hmm.
So we will bike down Roman roads. So if we're going to Bath, for example, 2,000 years old Bath is or more. And so we bike down a 2,000-year-old road to get into Bath. We join a canal which is 200 years old, and we bike into the back of Bath, almost right into the center of the town without going anywhere near a road.
That's
You know,
amazing.
we try and do things differently. We try and make sure we think about the trip flow. Every trip that we have has to flow. It's all very well booking hotels and booking attractions,
Right.
etc., etc., but it's got to flow. And that's one of the most important things that we do on all of our trips, to make sure that we're giving our guests, we try and give our guests the best week of their year. We try and make our trips really special. We try and make them really meaningful,
No, and I
to
can
everybody who
imagine.
travels with us. There's no one size fits all trip. Every trip is different because every person is different.
And of course, one of the things that makes for a great tour is a great guide. And
Yeah,
I know you actually, at least in Wales, I heard you get sort of native Welsh speaking guides who, which is good because you cannot pronounce most of the names in Wales. So if you have someone who can do that, and they're a lot of fun about it. But
they are a lot of fun about it. I
most of
mean,
it, yeah, but they are amazing and they're great storytellers. And from my experience, and I think you probably have some of the same.
yeah, exactly. I mentioned the singing first, but a while ago. But certainly, the guides bring the trips to life. Whether they're English speaking or Welsh speaking or a combination of both, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I think that the local flavor of the guides is the most important thing, and the
Right.
local knowledge and understanding. So we will never have non-indigenous guides on our trips. So our guides are always local.
No,
They understand the local community. They understand the intricacies of the trips. They understand the trip flow. They know the hotels. They know the concierge, the people behind the bar, the best pubs to go to, etc., etc., etc. It's really, really important that we use local people on every single trip that we run.
yeah, and you just said the two key words. They know the best bars and the people behind the bar. So that's
Well, yeah, they kind of go hand in hand sometimes, I think.
so that's great. No, and I've been to several pubs in Wales all over England actually, and that is one of the major things to do in all of the regions that you sell. Now let's talk. Is there anything else you want to tell our travel advisor audience? We go out to about 128,000 travel advisors about what you offer in Wales or anywhere else in that Active England offers.
I think the key thing is to make every trip special.
Right.
You know, there's lots of name recognition in the UK and in Wales about what's here, but I would encourage travel advisors to think about. I'll give you an example. So there's a county called Somerset. Somerset is as beautiful as the Cotswolds, but has about a tenth of the visitors.
Right.
You know, we are starting to run lots and lots of trips in Somerset to purely give our guests experiences of different places.
Sure.
It means, you know, so the Somerset is really close to Bath, so we run trips starting in Bath, going into Somerset, and then going into Devon and Cornwall. We're trying to find different routes. We're trying to do things whereby we meet more local people, more local suppliers, more interesting attractions, not necessarily the run-of-the-mill attractions. I think what people find is they kind of know what they're going to get from Stonehenge
Yeah.
because you can see it. They kind of know what they're going to get from London to a degree because
Right.
they can see it and and they understand the basics. But what we try and do is integrate those sort of marquee, iconic places with some of the lesser known experiences, attractions, places in the UK. Because if people know what they're going to expect from Stonehenge and Bath and Oxford and all these different places, that's not what they take away with them. That's what they think they're buying.
Mhm.
What they take away is they take away the weird and wonderful and interesting people that they meet, the
Absolutely.
smells, the sights, the sounds, of the Cotswolds or wherever they're visiting. You know, it's the beautiful hedgerows, it's the wonderful pubs, it's the warm fires, it's the good hospitality, it's the great beer, it's the food that's a lot better and the weather that's a lot better than people think. That's kind of how I encourage people to look at the UK. It's much more than what you would see on a brochure. It's much more than what you would see just by going to a tick box exercise of the top 10
Right.
places to visit.
Well, you're absolutely right. And years ago, I did a series that I called Passionate Britain because all of the people who oversee the guides at the castles, the distillers in the distilleries, the makers of whiskey, and I did a whole bunch of interviews with them, and they were so passionate about the places that they were responsible for and telling the stories. And we now do that with video, and we continue to do that.
Yeah.
I interviewed the owner of Bamberg Castle, and she was absolutely wonderful. And I try to get that now on video because they are so interesting, and that is what you come away with.
Completely. Yeah, completely.
Now, where can travel advisors go to learn more about Active England Tours, the website, etc.?
So the website is activeenglandtours.com. Go to the website, go to the trade page, connect with us there. We'd be delighted to host your guests to see the UK in a different light.
Fantastic. Well, thank for you for taking the time to talk about this. And for all you travel advisors, get in contact with Will, and he can show you a very different kind of England, Wales, and Scotland. And of course, he can highlight the places like Wales that are really still fairly undiscovered in it, and you can see Britain in a whole new way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, James. Thanks for your time. Have a good day.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.